Let's pretend you are you, picking up this game for the first time and deciding who to play. This guy's too small. This guy's too skinny. Oh no, he's way too cool. Whoa, look at this behemoth of a man. He doesn't even fit in the screen. This guy's perfect for me. So you go in and check the command list. This move looks kinda lame. Oh, look at this big punch. He sends him tumbling. That's hilarious. This attack looks so sick. But then, when you go into an actual fight, it seems like the opponent won't ever let you do all the fun stuff. So where do you start? Well, we're gonna have to lay down a good foundation before we get to the Potemkin shenanigans. First, we're going to make sure you know a little about Numpad Notation to help you read any future discussions. It's a way to describe movement inputs using numbers and keyboard's number pad instead of words. Each direction is tied to a number in the same layout, so assuming you're on the left side, crouching will be called 2, while forwards will be 6. A quarter circle forwards will be 236, and quarter circle back is 214. This generally cleans up notations to be more readable and can even be used internationally. So if you were to ask how to do a certain combo, instead of "Omae no kao wa ketsuake seijin mitai da na," you can instead get. With that out of the way, let's talk about 5P. This is your fastest attack with a pretty decent jab. The speed allows it to be used in exploiting gaps in an opponent's pressure or just as a panic button. Its size is also great for anti-airs against fuzzy little bees. 2P is a poking tool that's got a decent range for how safe it is, but the rewards are minimal. It can be okay for some run start situations. 6P is Guilty Gear's universal anti-air button executed by pressing forward and punch. Everybody has this, and it has a special property where the top half of the body is invulnerable. 6P is also useful countering certain pokes because of this. 5K is a short kick the opponent must block low. It's got a surprisingly long amount of active time to hit, and with the foot having no hurtbox, it can be used to prevent some low attacks. 2K is a long kick that the opponent also must block low. The reach and speed makes this a wonderful tool for you to open up opponents who are not covering their toes. 6K is a slow shoulder tackle. Its slow startup and slow recovery on whip makes this a move you should only use when you're sure what you're doing. It can be used to bring yourself closer for a messy guessy, automatically creating a trap for anyone who presses buttons, or a free throw for those who don't. It can also be used in corner combos to help you get back in. There is also a technique called Kara cancels that uses the momentum of 6K to extend the reach of your attacks, but I wouldn't worry about this until you're more comfortable with the rest of Potemkin's kit. Close Slash is a wonderful combo starter that is fast, large, and even safe on block. Just be aware of your spacing due to the move being tied to your proximity to the opponent. Far Slash is a very large poke, perfect for punishing the opponent when they whiff or jumping around too much. The hitbox is rather high, so be careful of opponents sliding underneath. 5H is slow but massive poke that's good for controlling the opponent's position with. If you're ever unsure what to do, these 3 buttons in sequence will always be a good backup plan for giving you some space to think. 2S is a large backhand that hits a bit lower than Far Slash. When hitting opponents in the air, it'll give them a nice little spin, perfect for using in juggle combos. 2H is a huge uppercut that launches opponents into the air. The big juggle you get out of this move allows you to follow up with almost any special attack, giving it a lot of flexibility on how you want to end the combo. While its verticality might seem like it's a good anti-air, the slow startup means you have to expect that the opponent will be approaching from the air. 6H is an extremely slow but equally rewarding attack. Best utilized as a punish tool. If you see the opponent do something very unsafe, then you can cash out big time. It can even be used during certain combos, but I wouldn't worry too much about this use for now besides maybe using it after a wall splash. The universal overhead is performed by pressing the dust button. The dust attack must be blocked while standing, so it can be used to open up opponents who are holding down back too much. Uncharged dust by itself does not give much of a reward, so make sure you have some tension to use a Roman cancel afterwards. It is relatively fast for an overhead, so you can try to close out a round with this attack. Holding down the button will make the move come out slightly slower for a much bigger reward in both damage and positive bonus. Pot has one of the biggest dust in the game, so opponents will have to be wary of this mix-up from further than usual. You can still get decent damage and positive bonus with a very simple follow-up, so you can try this out instead of worrying about harder combos. The universal sweep is performed by pressing dust while holding down. Potemkin has deceptively long legs to reach out with, and the opponent must crouch to block this attack. The hard knockdown allows you to approach closer where you can be more threatening, and once the opponent starts holding down instead of up to jump out, it's time to throw. Speaking of throws, forward or back thrust is the universal throw. Throw is technically everybody's fastest button, so you can use it to take back your turn and more importantly, switch sides with, something Potemkin struggles to do with his lack of mobility. JP is performed by jumping then pressing punch in the air. It's Pot's fastest air button, alright for air-to-air situations. The fast recovery means it's a relatively safe button to throw out. JK is a silly little kick Potemkin does in the air. It's not a very useful button outside of some gimmicks, so I wouldn't worry about using this button for now. JS is a big double-fisted spike. The massive hitbox makes it easy to hit opponents from the air. JH is a big body splash. Wide hitbox can allow you to go for an ambiguous left-right mix-up. JD is a funny little butt slam. It cancels any air momentum to send Potemkin straight down. It does not hit overhead, so try mixing it with another jump attack to open up the opponent with. Potemkin Buster is his signature move. It is done by doing a half circle back, then forward motion followed by a punch. As long as you do most of the motion, it will still come out, leading to big, unburstable damage. Keep in mind that when a character is waking up, they are temporarily immune to any throws. Make sure to delay the buster if you're going for this mix. Characters are also immune to throws while in block or hit stun, so make sure to also delay after striking when going for this mix. Command grabs in this game are immune to any throws, so if somebody's trying to throw you, they will be in for a rude surprise. Buster is tied with 5p at being the fastest attack Potemkin can do, so you can use it similarly to punish any gaps in the opponent's offense. Heat Knuckle is a big ground-to-air attack. Perform this with a 6-2-3 heavy input, also known as a Dragon Punch, named after the same motion for Ryu's Shoryuken. You can press forwards, let go, press down, and while holding down, press forwards. The input reader in this game is pretty lenient, so you can get away with doing a forwards and quarter circle forwards motion, or even rolling the buttons back and forth with a reverse quarter circle and quarter circle forwards. It reaches far and the arm cannot be hit, so it can be a good anti-air option if you have the time and reaction to do so. In the corner, it will always break the wall, leading to an easy route for gaining positive bonus. Since it acts like a grab once it lands, the opponent will no longer be able to use burst to get out of the damage, a good way to end the round. Heat Tackle is performed with a half circle forwards heavy, and has Potemkin flying across the air with both fists out to hit opponents out of the sky. If the opponent is occupying a specific part of the screen, it can be very hard for Potemkin to close the gap. Since Heat Tackle has one hit of armor, you can power through the shenanigans and punish them for being real lame and uncool. Since this is his fastest special that isn't a throw, it can be used to confirm off of weaker buttons like punch, unlike other moves. Forwards Mega Fist is performed with a quarter circle forwards punch. It hits overhead, so you can go for a cheeky mix after some lows. With how fast Potemkin rises into the air, it can be used to jump over and punish low hitting attacks. Because of how deep Mega Fist reaches, most characters will be unable to punish you with a universal anti-air 6p. Keep in mind that the reward is usually not good without a counter hit or a roaming cancel, and if blocked, it's pretty punishable. Backwards Mega Fist is performed with a quarter circle back punch. It functions similarly to forwards Mega Fist, but obviously is a retreating move rather than an advancing one. BMF is a good defensive tool to make some space while covering your retreat. Since BMF recovers faster than FMF, it's an excellent move to use in the corner to take the turn back and even combo off of it. If the opponent blocks that attack, it's no longer a guaranteed punish and can even still be your turn. Hammerfall is when Potemkin slides forwards across the screen, performed by holding back to charge an attack before releasing with a forward and heavy. Since Potemkin has no way of dashing, this skill is highly encouraged to get anywhere on the screen. This move is very punishable on block or whiff, so thankfully there's a way to pull the brakes and stop earlier before it gets too dangerous. If the opponent is unsuspecting of the move, you do have one hit of armor to punish their pokes with. The move is always being charged as long as they're holding back, so even blocking low can ready up Hammerfall to get out of some sticky situations. It can even be charged while doing a combo, so always plan ahead with your Hammerfalls. Slidehead is when Potemkin falls on his face, creating a full screen shockwave that must be blocked low. It is performed by doing a quarter circle forward slash input. While the shockwave does no damage, it causes the opponent to be knocked down long enough to slide in with a hammerfall. It also has a hit of armor, so you can get in for a mix on their wake up. You can also use a Roman cancel with the armor for some silly pranks. Don't get too predictable with it, or people will jump over to punish you. F.D.B is performed by inputting half circle back slash. You can hold the button down to delay the release, and when fully charged it will do slightly more damage, but this isn't really worth going for. Its main purpose is being able to destroy any incoming projectile and send a big fireball back at your opponent by simply holding the stance. The fireball can also destroy any other projectiles to help cover your advance. F.D.B is also good to use in a block string to keep yourself safe. Be careful when you use F.D.B though, it does not work against supers. Garuda Impact is performed by inputting quarter circle back heavy. It has a long startup, but very good rewards. Being a guard break move, it does a lot of chip damage if the opponent does not use faultless defense. Guard breaks also leaves the opponent unable to do any actions except to block, so you can force them to guess on the incoming mix. If you time the Garuda Impact to hit at the end as the opponent wakes up, you'll have more time to go for a more potent mix, such as a charged dust. If you do this method, you can even do a second Garuda that can lead to counter hits, or anyone who mashes buttons here. The stagger state is special in that you can combo into a Potemkin Buster. A regular hit also staggers, but you have less time to land the Buster. With 50% tension indicated in a meter down below, you can use Heavenly Potemkin Buster, an anti-air throw that is done by inputting double quarter circle forward slash. It can also be comboed into after a launcher such as 2H. Since it has invincibility on startup, it can be used to get out of bad situations. Of course, the invincibility's main purpose is to be able to punish most aerial attacks. The other super, Giganter Kai, is performed by doing half circle back then forward heavy input. It sends out a wall of energy that travels almost the entirety of the stage. You can use this as cover to hammerfall behind it to close the gap. Once the opponent is stuck in the wall, you can go for a mix that will lead them to get juggled into the super, easily leading to a combo. Something most people will want to do to avoid the mix is to just jump over, but that's ripe pickings for an anti-air. Of course, with 100% tension, you can totally do something like this. There are a couple techniques you can do using the burst gauge, but I really wouldn't worry about them until you feel more comfortable not having access to bursts for now. With quarter circle forward's dust, you can perform Wild Assault at the cost of 50% burst. You can hold the button down for a slower but more rewarding hit. Potemkin has access to the white Wild Assault, which is strike and projectile invulnerable while it travels. Because of this, you want to fish for counter hits using the charge version for the best reward. Watch out though, it isn't invincible outside of the travel time, and it can be thrown. You can also spend 50% burst on a Deflect Shield. It automatically blocks both high and low, and pushes the opponent away a certain distance. This is hard to utilize techniques, so I advise not to use this at all until you know exactly how, or else you will be caught in a combo you can no longer burst out of. It can be thrown, so at the very least, if you see an opponent use this, you know what to do. Now that we went through what every move can do on their own, let's put them together for some simple combos. Off of a 5P starter, you can do another 5P to help confirm you are hitting the opponent before going into a heat tackle. In this particular scenario, heat tackle brought Potemkin close enough to both the opponent and the corner to go for a close slash on wake up and into a wall break combo for the positive bonus. Be mindful to confirm that you are hitting the opponent before blasting off. If they block the attack, you will end up in a world of hurt. If you see that they are blocking your attack, keep it safe and simple with a F.D.B. Something you should fish for while people are moving around is to swipe at their toes. Reach out with a 2K, follow it with a 2D, and cancel into a hammerfall while they're knocked down. While the moves are referred to as 2K and 2D, it's better to actually hold in the 1 position to build up the hammerfall charge. After getting into position, you're free to stuff any buttons they might throw out on wake up with a close slash, and heat tackle into the corner. From there, we can see the previous scenario play out again. If the 2K2D gets blocked, you can potentially go for an overhead Mega Fist. If the Mega Fist gets blocked, depending on how far you were, the punishment is going to be negligible, if they could at all. A real simple combo you can do is a close slash, forward slash, heavy slash route and ending with a slide head. This is something that could work in most positions, and if they're further away, you just eliminate some of the earlier buttons as needed. If the opponent doesn't block the shockwave, that's a free hammerfall to cycle back into the previous scenarios. If the opponent recognizes a pattern to end in slide head, they may attempt to jump at you, but because of the 5H and the distance, you should recover in time for most jump-ins to block. In certain situations, you might even be able to counter 5P them into a heat tackle. And if you can't do that, there's something else you can do after blocking their pressure. This bait can also work even on a fully blocked string. If the opponent gets too conditioned to react to slide head, you can take advantage of the autopilot and not do slide head at all, instead going for a bigger anti-air. A more optimal route off of close slash is to go into 2S then 2H, immediately cancelling into Garuda Impact. The time it takes for the opponent to fall back down will line up just in time with the Garuda Impact's attack. This route also works just as well in the corner, leading to big damage. As stated before, if you don't want them to burst out of the combo, feel free to end with a heat knuckle instead. In this scenario, the wake up mix was actually a buster, another unburstable move. And once the next mix landed, it was better to save burst for the next round, giving the pot the win. This is a potential jump-in combo. With a considerable amount of pushback from the attack, pretend that JH was actually the close slash from the previous combo, and just go into the route from 2S. While this isn't necessary to learn at first, it's something nice to work on if you really want to capitalize on a charged dust hitting. As for spending your meter, remember that 2H can easily lead into F.D.B. Don't forget to be charging to use Hammerfall after the super is over. As for Giganter Kai, if you want to combo into it instead of using it as a utility tool, you can use it in the corner right about when the opponent would splat into the corner. Once the bug zapper hits, immediately go for a 6H F.D.B. That ought to do it for now. As long as you come to a better understanding of how to pilot your own character first, figuring out how to navigate your opponent's tools and habits will come with time. Remember to work on one small thing at a time to not overwhelm yourself, and that improving and having fun is how you really win in fighting games. Once you get really comfortable, that's when you can start going for some of the very silly stuff. Happy busting!